Hi everyone, I'm Sheldon, and this is Friday Farsight. This week we'll be talking about a future healthy replacement for alcohol. So this is an idea that's actually been around for quite a while. Going way back to about 1990 when I was in college, I used to have this 45-minute or hour gap between classes. And I'd go to this library and just look up words or look at the new books on the shelf. And one day I came across this book that made a huge argument about the drug war, where it said basically by looking at animal studies about how animals react to fermented fruit and things like that, that we're biologically programmed to anesthetize ourselves or to consume drugs and change our mental state in some way. And there's always a percentage of the population that becomes addicted. So it's kind of this built-in part of our biology and turns into a social problem, et cetera, et cetera. But his thesis was that the solution to it was not to prohibit the use of all this stuff, but to make healthy alternatives. And he was looking across all different kinds of drugs and experiences and all that. So anyway, today we're going to hear a lot from one particular researcher who's been researching the healthy alcohol idea and trying to get things approved and get a product out in market. I don't know if it's the same guy. It seems like it's almost a one-person crusade to get this concept accepted by society and rolled out into stores for everybody. But in theory, it could be quite a benefit to society. It would allow us to have all of our fun and social lubrication and all that and not destroy our bodies. So that's plenty of preamble. Remember that these episodes are AI generated, so some of the content may be slightly off here or there, so just be cautious in believing everything. And that should do it. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Sheldon. All right, let's see here.
A drink that gets you tipsy with no hangover, no liver damage, maybe not even addictive. Finally, a prediction that could actually affect my life.
And possibly prevent 3 million deaths every year. Welcome to Friday Farsight. This week, Strategic Farsight is predicting that by 2038, give or take 8 years, you'll walk into a bar and order a synthetic replacement for alcohol. All the warm relaxation, the loosened tongue, the little glow, and none of the poison.
None of the poison. So the whole upside of the bar minus the part where I'm on my knees at 3 a.m. apologizing to a toilet.
That's the pitch. They call it Alcosynth. And here's the part I keep turning over, the part that actually got me. The hardest piece of this isn't inventing it.
Wait, what? But then we'd have it already.
You'd think, but the researchers say the chemistry's basically sound. The molecule is almost the easy part. What's in the way is us. Our laws, our habits, a $1.5 trillion industry that would really prefer we didn't.
Okay, back up, because we have got to deal with the elephant in the room. Alcohol is everywhere. It's the wedding toast, communion wine, the beer with your dad at the ball game, the bottle you bring so you're not the jerk showing up empty-handed.
Right, stitched into basically every culture we've got. And at the very same time, it kills around 3 million people a year. The World Health Organization hangs more than 5% of all the deaths on Earth on alcohol.
5.3%. Of everybody who dies? Betty, that's not a vice. That's a plague.
And that's the paradox. We're 10,000 years deep into a love affair with something that's quietly killing us. And one guy stared at that contradiction and basically asked, what if you could keep the love and avoid the costs?
Free love. I like where he's going. Who are we talking about? Austin Powers?
Professor David Nutt, neuropsychopharmacologist at Imperial College London. He was the UK government's top drug advisor until they fired him for publishing that, statistically, popping ecstasy was less dangerous than horseback riding. He even named the risk. He called it equacy, equine addiction.
He got fired for being right with a chart. Ugh, this is my guy.
He's been chasing this since around 2013, and he doesn't undersell it. He calls it alchemy, turning the lead of a poison into the pure pleasure of pleasure. His line was, it'll sit right there on the shelf next to the scotch and the gin, and they'll pour it just as easily.
Okay, walk me through the actual machinery. I have a couple of beers. What's going on up in the attic? And how do you copy that, but clean?
So, alcohol mostly works by cranking up something called GABA. Picture GABA as your brain's brake pedal, the thing that slows the whole nervous system down. That's the calm, the lowered guard, the sudden gift of being able to talk to strangers.
Brakes, which turn me into a motor mouth. I think this metaphor is in trouble.
Well, yeah. The trouble is, alcohol isn't really a brake pedal. It's a wrecking ball with the word brake spray painted on the side. It does shove the GABA brakes, sure, but it also splashes dopamine and serotonin around, touches every organ you own, and then leaves behind this nasty little byproduct, acetaldehyde.
Acetaldehyde. That's the hangover gremlin?
That's a big chunk of it. It's what your body turns alcohol into on the way to breaking it down. And it's genuinely toxic. It's a known carcinogen. It's why a lot of folks of East Asian descent flush bright red after one drink. There's a gene variant that lets the stuff pile up.
So the hangover isn't a bug, it's your body screaming about a poison it's halfway through choking down.
Beautifully grim, but yes. So Nut's whole idea is drop the wrecking ball, pick up a scalpel, press only the GABA receptors that make you mellow and chatty. Ignore the rest. No acetaldehyde, no collateral damage.
So why 100 different molecules? I saw that number. Like he wants a whole arsenal of them.
Because alcohol isn't one experience, it's a whole range. A crisp glass of white at lunch is a different animal than 4 tequilas at midnight, which is different again from the nightcap that knocks you out. Nut figures 100, 200 compounds to paint that whole spectrum.
Huh. So it's less one drug, more a mixing board. Different sliders for different nights.
That's exactly it. A console where you push relaxed way up and leave weepy and slurring down at 0. And okay, here's the part that made me actually set the article down and think for a minute. Because you're building it from scratch. You can design in things alcohol could never have, like a ceiling.
A ceiling?
A hard limit baked into the chemistry. You physically cannot climb past pleasantly buzzed. 1 drink or 11, there's no blackout waiting at the top of the stairs. And some versions, in theory, could come paired with an antidote.
Wait. An antidote? As in, I'm 3 deep, I take a little tab, and I'm sober? Keys in hand, drive home sober?
In principle, yes. Reverse it in minutes.
Betty, that's not a better drink. That's a cheat code for the human nervous system. That changes what a night out even is. There's no more, oh, I overdid it.
You'd run your own buzz like a dimmer switch. Up for the party, down before the drive.
Okay, so if it's this good and the science is basically cooked, where is it? I should be dialing up the motor mouth for the show and then putting on the brakes for the drive home.
Now we hit the real wall, and the wall isn't in the lab. It's in the statute book and the ledger.
We always save the spicy stuff for last.
2 doors to market. Door 1, you treat it like a pharmaceutical, full drug approval. That's 15, 20 years and north of $1 billion. There was a Tufts analysis that basically priced that door at a cool $1 billion.
$1 billion and 2 decades. For a thing people sip at a barbecue. Nobody's walking through that door.
Dead on arrival. Door 2, you call it a novel food. Same bucket Europe used for chia seeds when they were new over there. Faster, 3 to 5 years, maybe 5 to 10 million instead of $1 billion.
Okay, that's way better. What's the catch? There's a catch. I can hear it coming.
The catch is brutal. As a novel food, you basically can't advertise the one thing it actually does. The moment you claim it gets you pleasantly altered, you've wandered back into drug territory.
So you can sell the magic relaxation potion, you just can't ever mention that it relaxes you. You've got to sell it with a wink and a nudge.
Pretty much. A legal scholar, Fiona Measham, wrote about this exact trap. Substances that are neither clearly food nor clearly medicine just get strangled in the crib. And that's a big reason Nuts company, GABA Labs, has gone quiet since about 2019. Founders call it the Valley of Death, that canyon between it works in the lab and it's on a shelf. And a lot of beautiful ideas just dry out and die down there.
And the booze industry is not exactly holding the door, I'm guessing.
$1.5 trillion market, Biff. The Lancet actually documented them systematically knifing harm reduction ideas. But the most jaw-dropping conflict of interest isn't the distillers, it's the government.
How do you figure that?
Follow the money. The state rakes in a fortune taxing every bottle, and then the state also picks up the tab for the wreckage, the ERs, the totaled cars, the lost work. In the US alone, about $250 billion a year.
So the same government paying to treat the cirrhosis is cashing the check on the bourbon that caused it. It's a government selling weapons to its own rebel guerrillas.
That's the contradiction, possible only if the government has decided that the vice, or guerrilla army, is inevitable, which is why there'll never be some grand coordinated Manhattan Project for sober fun. We've decided drinking is a willpower problem, a moral failing, instead of a technical problem we're actually allowed to engineer our way out of.
Okay, slow down, because something's been gnawing at me. Synthetic alcohol. That phrase just sounds off. Some lizard part of my brain would rather drink the real natural stuff.
And isn't that the most revealing thing in the whole story? The real natural stuff is the carcinogen. Wine is literally a class 1 cancer agent, but it sounds wholesome, sounds like sunlight on a hillside. Alkosynth sounds like it clawed its way out of a lab.
It's the naturalistic fallacy. Natural good, synthetic scary, even when the natural one is the thing trying to kill you. It reminds me of the knee-jerk vilification of GMO crops, when those are the ones you don't have to spray with pesticides.
Backwards, and the naturalistic fallacy is not harmless either, because one safety scare, even a totally bogus one, shoves the whole field back a decade. Look how long they've brawled over aspartame, or the vaping panic in places where vaping was actually pulling people off cigarettes.
All right, but here's my real objection, the serious one. You floated that this thing might not be addictive. Come on, isn't that the eternal catch with anything that feels good? Can you actually peel the pleasure off the hook?
That's the single hardest question in the whole field, and I won't wave it off. Alcohol's grip isn't just the GABA, it's the dopamine reward, it's the glutamate rebound when the drink wears off, it's the brain slowly rewiring to need more. And yeah, some GABA drugs are nightmares. Benzos, your Valium, your Xanax, those hit GABA too.
Right. See, that's exactly what spooks me. You're poking the same receptor the benzos poke.
Here's Nuts' counter, though, and he published this around 2020. 2 benzos can hit the identical receptor and have completely different addiction profiles. The difference is the pharmacokinetics, the how fast, how hard. Slow onset, a gentle ceiling, no toxic aftermath. You could pull a lot of the teeth out of the hook.
Maybe. But here's what really nags me, down in the basement of the whole idea. The hangover, the cost, the wreckage. What if that's the break? If the pleasure is totally free, no bill ever lands, do we just never get up and go home?
Oh, that's the existential question, Biff. The idea that the suffering was load-bearing, that the misery was holding up the roof the whole time.
Right. The bill at the end of the night is the thing that actually sends you home. Kill the bill, and maybe nobody ever leaves.
Hold that thought, because it's the beating heart of this episode, and we are coming back to it. But okay, here's what genuinely surprised me about how this future actually arrives. It might have almost nothing to do with the invention. It might just be about who's pouring.
Meaning what?
Gen Z drinks about 20% less than the generation before them. That's straight out of a Berenberg report. The whole sober curious thing is exploding. Non-alcoholic spirits, Seedlip, which Diageo, one of the giants, turned around and bought. Athletic brewing, even kava bars. That's a $400 million scene now.
Hold on, kava? I keep hearing kava and just nodding like I know. What is it?
It's a root from the Pacific Islands. People have been drinking it ceremonially for thousands of years. You grind it up into this earthy, muddy thing, and it gives you a mellow, relaxed, faintly euphoric glow. And get this, partly through those same GABA receptors.
Wait, so there's already a natural, kinda sorta alkosynth growing on an island somewhere?
Sort of. That's the tease, but it's got real limits. The taste is rough, it goes and numbs your whole mouth. The strength is all over the place, batch to batch, and there've been disputed liver tox worries. Never went mainstream. Same deal with kratom, works on your opioid receptors but carries real addiction risk, or CBD. It relaxes you but never gives you that specific social lubricant magic of a real drink.
So nature stepped up to the plate a few times and just bunted.
Perfectly put. And then there's the wildest one out of Stanford, a 2022 paper. They engineered yeast to brew what they basically nicknamed beerless beer, fermented drinks carrying novel, feel-good compounds instead of alcohol. And that's sneaky brilliant because if it's brewed, you might get to call it a fermented food and tiptoe right past the drug regulators.
So half of the science has to go into fooling the regulators that we're just, feeding our heads.
More or less. So the substitute might win not because somebody finally cracks the perfect molecule, but because a whole generation just quietly stopped wanting the original, and the market drifts. The way coffee elbowed tea out of half the world. Nobody declared war. Tastes just moved.
I gotta say, I half live in bars, it's basically my office, and even I've watched it happen. Half the table's on seltzers and mocktails now, and nobody blinks. Used to be you'd get roasted for that.
See? And that's it exactly. Funny enough, my first podcast years back was this thing called Bar Rats, all about live music and the, let's say, rowdier happenings at local shows. And even back then, you could feel the crowd starting to change.
Bar rats. Why am I only hearing about this now? Okay, so let's go wide. If this thing really lands, who's celebrating and who's mourning?
Celebrating, first and loudest, the 3 million people a year who simply don't die. Recovering alcoholics who could finally have a drink without standing at the lip of the cliff. People crushed by social anxiety. Whole communities hollowed out by generations of alcoholism.
That's not a product launch. That's a mercy. That's genuinely beautiful.
It really is, and we can't let that get buried under all the philosophy. But the mourning side, the trillion-dollar industry, obviously, and then this one actually tugs at me, the craft. Wine's an 8,000-year-old art form. Champagne isn't a flavor, it's a place, a specific patch of chalky French dirt. A designer molecule has no vintage, no terroir, no story whispered up out of the soil.
Yeah, there's no poetry in a compound. Nobody's gonna swirl a glass, close their eyes, and murmur, the 2038 GABA modulator, batch 47, a cheeky little quarter, real backbone.
Right? You lose the romance. Although, people swore the printing press would murder the beauty of hand-copied books. Maybe the romance just relocates. But there's a deeper layer here, and this one gives me genuine vertigo. There's a serious theory that alcohol helped build civilization itself.
Whoa, build civilization? That's a heck of a swing.
There's a real hypothesis. They call it beer before bread, that some of our ancestors may have started farming grain to brew it before they farmed it to eat it. Think about what alcohol does socially. It let wary, suspicious strangers drop their guard, cooperate, cut a deal, throw the feast that seals the alliance. It was a social technology, maybe the first one we ever had.
So the tavern is the original conference room. The first peace treaty in history was probably just two guys, a few drinks in, going, you know what, you're all right.
Honestly, maybe. So here's the dizzying question. If we engineer a clean version of that social solvent, all the bonding, none of the wreckage, is that a straight upgrade to human connection? Or does pulling the risk out of it quietly pull something real out too?
And that snaps right back to my hangover thing, doesn't it? You get lit with your friends, have a great time, then you pay the cost together. You've been through something that wasn't just fun, but also hard, and you did it together.
Well, I'd like to believe we can have the good and not the bad. But even then, the invention of the perfect drug, that carries us to the hardest decision this whole prediction quietly drops in our laps, because there's a much darker reading of this exact same future.
All right, lay it on me.
Picture a substance that hands you endless, costless, ceilingless contentment, always on the shelf, no downside, ever. No hangover, no shame, no bill. Just sit with what that actually is.
Oh, that's Soma. That's straight out of Brave New World. That's the drug Huxley built a whole nightmare around.
That's Soma. And here's the gut punch. The very same molecule that could save 3 million lives a year is, tilt it slightly, precisely the thing Huxley was terrified of. A whole population mildly, permanently, agreeably fine.
Oof. So which is it? Is it the cure, or is it the off switch for the entire species?
And that's exactly why I don't think we should answer it for anybody. I think we hand people the bottle and, as with alcohol, let them make their own moral and psychological choices.
Yeah, because depending how you tilt it in the light, it's the cure for one of the oldest plagues we've ever carried, or it's the comfiest cage anybody ever built, and we stroll right in, smiling, drink in hand.
Either way, the science says it's coming. It's a question of when, not if. Best estimate, the back half of the 2030s with all the usual fog.
A drink with no consequences. I honestly can't decide if that's the best idea our species ever had, or the most quietly terrifying.
Sit with that one this weekend, everyone, and thank you truly for spending your Friday with us here on Friday Farsight.
If you want the whole prediction, all the science, the timelines, the scenarios, head to the Strategic Farsight website and read the full article.
It's brain food with no side effects.
Free love, people.
We'll see you next Friday. Keep looking ahead.